As we like to say, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I got wet. Son of a bitch. Today I'm coming to you from unfamiliar territory. The place I'm at today is Phoenixville, Pennsylvania in Chester County. I'm down here because I was invited to check out a few locations. First one we're heading to now, known as the Phoenixville Tunnel, originally called the Fairview Tunnel. It was operated by the Pennsy Railroad, last used in the 70s or 80s. And the person who invited me down here is none other than Randy of Emerald Sound Productions. We're walking on the Schuylkill Rail Trail.
Yep, Schuylkill River Trail.
Schuylkill River Trail, rail trail. And we've got about a quarter to half mile walk. And he did say you could go all the way through it. There's a partial collapse in there and it is dark. And from what he told me about it, sounds pretty awesome and epic. And of course, you're invited too. So if you're ready, just come along with us. And a short walk later, we arrived at our destination. Hard to see, but down there is indeed the tunnel. There's some water leading into it, but we're going to be walking the outskirts along the edge. And once we get inside, it should be dry enough conditions. Now, obviously, we're staying on top of a hill here, which just wasn't here at the time because the line did continue along the rail trail that we walked up on and eventually crossed over the river. And Randy was able to find some old bridge supports or columns that he documented in his video, so you can check that out, which is not too far from where we parked. So it does show the continuation of where the line did go. That's why I just came down. Randy's making his way down. Thankfully, this time of year, it's not too overgrown and thick. It is manageable, but a little bit slick. It did slide in a couple areas. But once he gets down here, we're gonna make our way forth. I could see all the way through it. It is stone around the outside of it, and looks pretty awesome. As long as we stick to the side here, we should remain dry. And the unique thing that Randy told me is on the inside where the collapse is, well, there's a road above it. And they actually had to put a weight restriction on it to prevent further collapse on the inside. So we are going to be going underneath an active roadway as we are inside this tunnel. You can clearly see we're going through a rock cut here. Just have to imagine that that mound, the embankment that we came down wasn't there. It would have just continued straight. Slightly rose in elevation as it left the tunnel here. We do have a date confirmation. On top there is a stamp of 1884. That is the original build date. Just shy of 810 feet in length. And what was the width?
Roughly over 24 feet wide.
24 feet wide. Originally had a double line going through it. And was later brought down to a single line. Hard to imagine, as Randy stated off camera, that there's not a whole lot of room here for a double line. It'd be a kind of a tight squeeze. But also back in the day too, the freight cars weren't nearly as big as they are now, so we're able to get away with it. But I do see some rail inside, and I want to get up there closer and just get some photos, get some visuals, and just kind of document this the best way possible as we make our way through. I do have multiple flashlights to light it up, and we're going to go clear to the other side to show you what the other end looks like as well. Standing up here next to this rock face, covered in some nice nature's carpet. I'm gonna make my way over here to the opening, the portal. And here you should be able to get a good visual as to how big it is compared to me. It's a good size one. Outside here, just a jumbled mess of trees, some cinder block, tossed down items like this toolbox for a pickup truck, tires. Also some ties, plates, spikes as well. But right behind me here are some rails, so come on over, I'll show it to you. Standing just on the inside of it where you saw me. Here's where the rails do start/stop. They were cut. I heard a train horn. Must be a ghost train. And the inside is brick lined on top of some chiseled out, drilled out stones for the lower half. You can see it better on this side here. All those drill markings most likely was drilled and blasted. Reminds me of a giant subway tunnel with all the brick. And Randy's up there now. The one problem we're going to come across here, Randy did state this prior to me coming here. He's like, bring muckers. There's a chance it could be wet and muddy. So I brought them. He's like, you know what? It's been cold. I think it's going to be dry. Shouldn't have to deal with mud or water. Well, we do have some mud and water. So the only way for me to get over there without getting wet is to walk the rail, kind of sidestep it like he did. Do you know if it's dry on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay, so once we reach that collapse area there, we'll be able to have some dry area, but I'm gonna safely get over there. I don't wanna risk dropping you guys in the water or doing anything foolish, so once I get to a dry spot, we'll pick up from there. Well, after a several minute trek across the tracks with the help of a walking stick, I did make it in one piece to not step in the water. A little tedious, some close moments where I almost did step in, but I am here on dry land, basically standing on the beginning of the collapse here, which is just above us. Now you can see that big open crater. Well, it's all right here. Randy's standing over there, so you can see the size of it compared to him. And there is a roadway above it, which is why they did reduce the weight restriction so that this does not get any worse than what it already is. Now, some of it's going to happen naturally from freeze-thaw cycles, but one thing I can tell is that that looks like almost like solid rock up there. So they built this inner liner of brick on the inside of the rock. It wasn't completely against it. And most of it here is boulders, red stone, chunks of brick as well, random tires. Let me get up on top of that mound and give you some better shots of it. All right, so climbing up this. All right, standing on top of the collapse now, and we're able to look up into the cavity here. The thing I'm noticing is that there's cavities or craters above the brick lining and between the solid rock. So there is like a gap that you can almost venture on top of or above if you wanted to. There's water dripping through. It looks like a little kind of borehole up there. Multi-layers of brick. It's a piece of rail right there. This is a pretty significant collapse. Thankfully it didn't collapse all the way to plug it up. But the good thing is on the other side, it's completely dry, so we're gonna continue on. And along the way too, I'm gonna try to get some dates on the rails if we could. I don't think we're gonna be in luck finding dates. The tracks are heavily corroded. You'd have to basically get a wire brush and kind of scrape away, and even then, there's no guarantee. They are in pretty rough shape. Now this line does go right down the center, but as we mentioned, this was a double line, so this was changed to a single line to the center, but at one time would have been lines paralleling each other through the tunnel. And over here to the left, Randy spotted this cutaway, which we believe was probably for men back in the day when this was a double line, that if a train was approaching close to the side, they'd be able to duck in there and be out of the way from the oncoming train. Oh, I think a train's coming. That was a close one. I have seen those before in other tunnels, so we do believe that it's just a little cutaway for safety for man, for oncoming trains back when they were double lined in here. So above me, I just showed Randy, there is a opening in the top, in the ceiling. I'm gonna shine some light on it right now. Right there, there's a box with some, looks like maybe rebar along the edge of it. And it does go up to the cavity above, which I was explaining. I'm thinking one of two things, maybe either for some type of ventilation, if they had like a fan of sorts. I'm thinking more so a manway for inspections, because there actually is a cavity or gap up there that you could actually walk on top of this tunnel, or crawl at least, and have an open space up there to be able to get access to above to inspect for any possible deformities or collapses. And there's another cutaway there as well. On this section here, it is heavily ballast, tons of stone, almost up to the top of the rails actually. Ties are completely covered. Look at the shadows. Another cutaway. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah. Yep. You're walking on the sides and I'm doing the balance.
Aside from a wet foot, made it to the other side. The date is still up there, just not as visible as the other side is. If we wanted to continue, well, we would have to have hip waders. It is a swampy mess over here. Now the rails are cut here, but the ties are still here, going around the sweeping bend through this rock cut. As you can see over here, there is plenty of nature's carpet. It's a nice shady area. And a lot of moisture here too. Still some icicles hanging around. But this tunnel though is pretty fascinating, knowing that it's been here for well over 100 years, that it had a double line, later a single line, and last was operated by Conrail in the 70s or 80s. And for the most part, it is still holding up pretty well. This is public land. You're allowed to be here. You come here to explore it. I will say it's being really well taken care of in the aspect that there's not really any graffiti or vandalism or trash for the most part. Some here and there, but I've seen much worse. It's actually pretty well original to its original build, so I'm glad to see that. I do want to thank Randy for inviting me down. We do have other things in store for today, so you will see us together in other videos. But this is a look at the Phoenixville Tunnel here in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Appreciate you watching and coming along for this adventure. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.